The moon, of course, is an analogy. It's an analogy for the place that fear tells you not to go. And if you want some idea of where you should be moving towards in your life, fear is actually a pretty good place to start. Most people hear walk on the moon and they think of astronauts. I don't. I think about my favorite song, Walk on the Moon by Great Big Sea. I love this song so much that I intentionally try not to listen to it because I don't want to get sick of it. That's how much I love this song. And Walk on the Moon is not about walking on the moon per se. In fact, it's really about what it means to walk on your moon, what it means to really live your dream. Dreams take many shapes for many different people. Could be a father holding his newborn. That can be a dream, being a father. An alcoholic who is recovering, going into his first meeting. That could be a dream. Simply to stop drinking. Even quitting. Quitting doesn't sound like a stoic thing, but it could be. Think about the man that quits his job that he's hated for 10 years. That's courage. And that's a dream. What about the woman who starts over after getting divorced? Man, what a dream that is. Most of us will never stand on the moon unless Elon Musk has his way. But each and every one of us gets moments that require the same kind of courage. The courage to live your dream, to go after your dream. Walk on the Moon by Great Big Sea. You're welcome to give it a listen. And I'm not going to read lyric by lyric here, but I am going to point out some of the themes here so that we can go through it in relationship to this idea. There's a line that says, I'm sick and tired of waiting for dreams that never come. You talk about passive hope. Stoicism has very little patience for waiting around. Waiting until confidence comes. Waiting until motivation comes. Waiting until the circumstances improve. I can tell you who wasn't waiting around, and that's Marcus Aurelius. Neither were the Apollo astronauts. Because if you always say, someday this will happen, someday, eventually someday becomes never, and you never actually do anything. And so be very cautious of waiting around for dreams that never come. Dreams only happen when you make them happen, not when they stumble upon you. There's another line on regret, interestingly enough. Games I never played in, but still wish that I had won. And this line is incredible. I love it. Imagine being bitter and upset and pissed off about losing a game that you had never even played. Now, this sounds crazy when you think about it. If you think about a game of Monopoly that you didn't engage in with your family because you wanted to go do something else, and you getting upset that you didn't play Monopoly with them and you never won. Well, you're not going to win if you don't play. But how often do we feel like we want to win games that we never actually play? Let me give you an example of this. How many times has someone told you a success of theirs and you've gotten just a little bit jealous about it? Jealousy is very natural for human beings. It's something that we have to work towards not feeling, but it's very natural. It comes to all of us. But if you ask yourself, did I really try? Am I really playing that game? Well, how can you possibly be upset that you never won the game? It's like you never went to law school. You decided to go into engineering or something else. And then you getting jealous and upset that this lawyer friend of yours is doing really well. Well, you haven't even played the game. Why would you assume? Why would you get upset that you haven't won, that they're doing better? The other way I like to think about this is people who are not really trying in terms of the whole Stoic way of life, meaning they're not really trying to be a good person. They're not trying to be kind. And you might be upset that someone can out-bitter you or out-toxic relationship you. But if that's not the game you're playing, if that's not what you really believe in, if that's not where your values are, why would you be jealous? Why would you be upset that you haven't won that game? Games I never played in but still wish that I had won. This line is so incredible. People regret outcomes from lives they never actually lived. People mourn businesses they never started. They mourn books they've never written. They've mourned conversations they never even had. You cannot win games you refuse to enter. And it ties in with this idea of going after your dreams, because if you're not truly all in on going after your dreams, how can you be upset that you're not winning, that you're not living those dreams? Now, there's a lyric in that song as well that talks about how the astronauts, their hands were shaking when they landed on the moon. I love this lyric because people imagine courage as being fearless, as not feeling fear, not feeling afraid. Hey there. Let me thank you for being a listener to this ad-free podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, there are a few things you can do to help me out. A 5-star review on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this really does help, and it's free. You can also sign up for my Substack newsletter or Patreon. Substack free gets each episode emailed to you along with the transcripts in the form of an article. You'll also get access to my live talks, followed by a Q&A afterward. Substack Premium supporters and my patrons on Patreon get access to the recordings and a brief article of those Q&A sessions, access to full episodes of the Paradoxically Speaking podcast, my Steps to Success interview series, Stoic meditations, and much more. Links to Substack and Patreon can be found in the show notes. Courage almost certainly looks like trembling. Courage, of course, tied in so much with fortitude and strength. Imagine the heavy squat. Yeah, your knees are going to shake. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be scared of injuring yourself. Courage almost certainly looks like trembling. You could tie in, well, courage is fear walking. Or bravery is fear that has said its prayers. The point is that even Neil Armstrong probably had fear, and he's walking on the moon. So why do we expect ourselves not to? Why do we expect everything to be so easy? Why do we expect to go after and do difficult things, do hard things, do challenging things that nobody else wants to do, but everyone wants the benefits of? People want to win the game that they haven't played. Why do we expect to do all of that without having fear? Of course we're going to have fear if we're being courageous. In fact, if you listen to Ned Stark, he'll tell you that when you're afraid is the only real time that you can have courage. One small step for man. One small step. That's one small step is what got someone to stand on the moon. But history remembers something different. History remembers one giant leap. They remember that one giant leap for mankind. But everyone forgets the staircase before the leap. Everyone forgets the thousands of tiny steps leading up to that one step. Everyone forgets the training, the failure, the doubt, the fear, the checklists, the practices, the early mornings, the late nights, the sleepless nights. You want to know something wild about Stoicism? Stoicism loves this. Character isn't one decision. It's thousands and thousands of tiny decisions that accumulate over time into being a good character. So this idea of my walk on the moon, well, everybody's moon is different. For one person, it's sobriety. For another, it's fatherhood. For another, it's grief. For another, it's starting over. Don't compare missions. Don't compare games that you're not actually playing. Just complete your mission. Go after your dream. Go after what you want in life. What is your walk on the moon? Man, maybe you're 14 years old and you've never had a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Maybe your walk on the moon is asking someone out. Maybe you're 30 and it's time to become a parent. Maybe that's your walk on the moon. Maybe it's forgiving yourself. Maybe it's letting go of all those embarrassing moments that you have in your head from when you were 20 or 12. Maybe it's starting therapy. Talk about courage. Maybe it's quitting drinking alcohol. Maybe it's changing careers. Maybe you've been in a career for 20 years and you're just sick and tired of it, but you like the income that it gets you. You like the stability. You like the confidence. You like the fact that you know what to do, but you're bored. You want to change careers. Maybe you're writing a book that you want to publish. Maybe you're writing an article that you want to publish. Maybe you're recording a podcast you want to publish. Maybe your walk on the moon is simply speaking honestly. To be able to go in front of people and be honest, be candid and kind, but candid. Having the courage to bury someone you love, to grieve properly. And my personal favorite, maybe your walk on the moon is getting into the gym for the first time, making that first step towards a better, healthier life. The moon, of course, is an analogy. It's an analogy for the place that fear tells you not to go. And if you want some idea of where you should be moving towards in your life, fear is actually a pretty good place to start. I'm not saying if you're afraid of heights, you should jump off a building. I'm not saying if you're afraid of spiders, you should go find a venomous tarantula and let it bite you. But if you have fear about something, if your mind's telling you not to go somewhere, it's very much worth exploring why you have that fear and what it actually means to you. And I can tell you, dreams are scary. People always think of dreams as the moment where everything's perfect and you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. Again, they don't think of the 1,000 steps before that. And each one of those steps is full of fear. Fear of all the difficulty that comes with it. Fear of failure. Just fear that you're going to fail and fall flat on your face. Unbeknownst to all of us, of course, that failure is only giving up. If you don't give up, it's not failure, it's just a setback. I've got one shot. It's in the course. I've got one shot and I'm taking it to you. I've got one shot. Now, what does this mean? Well, of course, in the motivational sense, you could say, I got one shot. This is my moment. I got to move forward. But in the Stoic sense, you could look at this as being memento mori. You got one shot. You got one life. You got one chance. You got one attempt at this life. There's no rehearsal. Unfortunately, we all don't get a chance to rehearse. That changes everything. There's no practice session for life. And not because it pressures you. I mean, of course it's pressuring that you don't get a chance to rehearse life, but it's clarifying. Points you in the right direction. It simplifies things. It allows you to, or forces you rather, to prioritize things. And so if I could end on just one note here. Walking on the moon it's not about actually walking on the moon. It's about ordinary courage. Daily courage. These little small steps that add up to something big over time. And I will remind you, as I love to do, that you've got one shot. Yes, you get to fail today and you get to fail tomorrow and next week and you get to pick yourself back up, and that's the beautiful, beautiful part of this life. But you've only got one life. You've only got this moment. You've only got today once. You've only got today once. I'm recording this on June 26, 2026. This day I will never get back. You will never get back. It's gone. And by the time you listen to this, this is in the past. It's over. It's done. You can't change it. And there's nothing that you can do to go back in time and change what you've chosen to do. But you can choose to have courage in this next moment and the next moment and the next moment. You can choose to go after the moon. You've got one shot at this life, man. Make it count.